Hey guys, Mr. Dirt. First off, I'd like to say thank you so much for all of the get well wishes and prayers, and you guys are just really amazing. So thank you, sincerely. And before this happened, I was actually working on a collaboration series with Trish from Just So Trish. You guys may know that I have been starting to homeschool the girls and free up a little bit of my darling wife's time so that she can get more done on the channel and what she's doing around here, because she is really just such a wealth of knowledge. If you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask either Trish or I, go ahead and just post them down in the comments. Get on with the interview. Thank you again. Hi everybody, Mr. Dirt. I am sitting here with a very special guest. Say hi, Trish, real quick.
Hi, Trish. I'm Trisha, Just So Trish, and my channel is a lot about just living life effectively, economically, creatively, with a little flair of craziness, I like to say. I have 6 kids. I've been homeschooling for the last few years, and we're living on one income and just trying to do it in the best way possible.
I have recently been able to homeschool the kids since I've been home. I've noticed that I basically have no clue about what's going on. And so Trish and I had started talking a little bit, and we realized that I'm probably not the only dad out there or the only parent who is just starting into this. I feel like I've been hit with a freight train. And
the fun part is, and it's been fun talking to you too, John, because I've noticed in the homeschool community, whether it be Facebook and YouTube and just friend to friend, that more dads are getting in on the action, and you're kind of a lone community. I think it's really awesome to have a man's point of view come through. You guys bring in a whole different perspective on just parenting and homeschooling too.
So my biggest thing, I guess, I haven't even had a clue where to even start, I think, until I started talking to you. So I guess that kind of presents the question, where would one person even start, Trish? Where do we go?
The biggest part, not to be fear factor, is making sure you are legally sound in what you're doing. The first thing you need to do is know what your state requires. It is based on state to state that decides what your requirements are to homeschool, and then it's your county's job to regulate what the state asks of you. And the county is not allowed to ask more of you than what the state requires. Is a big one to know.
So it is a state that would be the one to look at. I'm taking notes. Okay, so look at your state requirements. One quick question. Is there any federal laws or anything that we need to worry or steer clear of?
Not at this time. We could have a whole conversation. There's things coming up that are possible threats that it could eventually, especially with the Common Core being shoved through the state thing. And there's some back alleyways that could be a possibility to be a problem in the future. But as of right now, there are no federal regulations. It is state to state. And the best thing to do is to find out what your state requires. And I think the best way to find that out is to use the HSLDA.org website. This is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. And what it is they're actually kind of a lobbyist organizational group. So if you run into any problems at your county level or at your state level, or if you feel like you're being persecuted for being a homeschooler, they are there to defend you. You can opt into them through your state association that gives you access and member of the HSLDA, or you can go strictly and be an HSLDA. But if you go to HSLDA, this is the website that they have. And what's really cool is right here, if you can see that highlighted, it says My State. And this gives you the ability to click on the state. I'm here in Florida. You're in Idaho, you can click on Idaho and it shows you the laws and the regulations to your state. And this is going to be the first place you really want to come look at. So you want to go to HSLDA and get a sense of what your state is. So now you're in Idaho and you already know your background, what your state requires in Idaho, right?
Correct. Most of what I can glean, and I looked at the website last night, was the only requirement that we have if our children were to graduate earlier than the age of 16, then it looks like, according to the state, we have to keep them in school until their 16th birthday.
So that part is compulsory.
So you can't graduate them early.
No, not so early. They could graduate on their 16th birthday, apparently, but they don't specify what kind of school. So I could enroll them in college, and they could be taking college credits when they're 14 years old.
Well, we can actually do that here in Florida also in dual credit. The really kind of cool part, the thing about the different states is each state has different requirements, and HSLDA has actually gone and ranked them. So here on hslda.org/laws is state by state requirements. So you're being in Idaho, you're the green state, and there's several states that fall into that where their state requirements no notification. There's no state requirements for parents to initiate any contact. So you're kind of considered the easiest state to fall into. Then there's other states like Montana, Wyoming that you'll see in yellow that only requires this parent to give notification. So I'm here in Florida where we're considered a moderate regulation. In Florida, we are required to give notice to the county that we're homeschooling and maintain a portfolio that can be visited up to 2 years later. And at the end of the year, we need to have either a teacher sign off that they did progress, not necessarily in each subject, but just that there's a general progression, or have them take a standardized test of our choosing, whether it be the state standardized test or if it is a private one that we use. I actually use a private one we do through the web, or we can have a psychologist evaluate them. And so that's kind of considered moderate. And then you have the highest regulation that requires parents to send notification or achievement test scores, professional evaluations, plus other requirements where you might have to have your curriculum approved. You might have to have the teacher be qualified, the parent to be qualified as a teacher. You might have to have home visits by a state official.
Summary: stay out of the red states.
Stay out of the red states or begin lobbying for change.
And HSLDA is quite a good lobby.
They are the top dog for lobbying for homeschoolers. And the part that's really important about knowing or being part of HSLDA is the fact that the big part about using HSLDA is, the counties are really left to regulate the homeschool law of the state. And a lot of times the county employees that are left to this job are either elected officials or hired in, and they might not be completely aware of the law, and they might come with their own prejudice or pretenses of, we need to make sure our homeschoolers are doing right. And we've had episodes in Florida where they have become, you need to give us this list of demands that are not regulated by the state. Otherwise, you need to have your kids in public school or we're coming to your house. And we have just had that happen in Florida. And it isn't really a place where, the county in essence was overstepping their grounds, but it comes from the fact that these human beings that were in this job were not completely aware of the law, and they didn't realize that they did not have authority to do so. So instead of you as a parent being in a situation that, how do I hire a lawyer? I can barely afford to work on one income and have curriculum, and now I got to hire a lawyer to do this. They can go to HSLD and call them up, and they show up and they have their attorney forces. They know the laws. This is their expertise, and they show up and they defend you. This is what's really amazing about being part of that group. It's protection.
So in summary, Trish, then I guess we're trying to stay out of jail is the worst case scenario with that. So we go to hslda.org and research that webpage.
The fact of knowing that the laws are out there and it's not some orb of mystery that you are lucky to find out, or you're kind of feeling it's not a mystery. The information is there and it is available to everybody. Find your state requirements and your state resources for your state. And there's usually always an association. In Florida, it's the Florida Parent Educator Association. In Idaho, you have an association. Every state pretty much has an association that covers the state. And they will typically have a list of how to get started, and they will have people to contact in your area. They will have the layout of what you need to do, print it out, take a look at what's now required, and you can begin making a plan.
And don't let the county official necessarily boss you around. Is that what?
Be prepared. Even in our county, if you contact the county, be prepared that they might be like, oh, do you really want to do that? They are really good at kind of, in most cases, presenting just doubt, encouraging doubt in you to do it. Because the moment you pull your child out of any of their school infrastructures, you are now preventing them from collecting money on your child for being present at school. So you might even get offered of, oh, we have an online school that you can do. It's just like homeschooling, and we got teachers and we send you all the resources. There again, your child's attendance in that, the county gets paid. Realize you are kind of doing an act of defiance with your school system by taking your child out, because they're no longer collecting an, I hate to call it income, but in many ways they do view it as an income. They are losing federal and state money when your child's not in there. But on the same account, they're not needing to educate your child, so they don't really need, they don't have the expense of your child. And
they'll do it in all sorts of different ways too. Here in Idaho, we're fairly easygoing, I guess they would say, but they will bribe's probably a little bit strong of a word, but they will offer
highly
all sorts
encourage.
Yes, they will. I mean, they offer to buy parents a computer for their student to be on work, but it involves being in that state curriculum as well and being taught the same thing that they are in the public school.
And it's realized the moment they're offering something, there's another hand that's going to hold on to you. Exactly. And that can get into a whole conversation of why you want to stay disconnected in many ways from benefits of the taxing system for homeschool money. Because the moment you're getting any of that tax money, you are now being regulated to a higher level than what's already being done.
And that branches beyond homeschooling, but that's a whole nother rant. So I will steer.
Another rant.
Excellent.
So that's step one.
Step one, stay out of jail. Step two, do we start looking for a curriculum, or what do we start doing after we have gone through all the hoops and the regulations and gotten our child out of the public system?
The big jump is typically to try to go ahead and pick curriculum, but the problem is you tend to miss a very important step, and that becomes figuring out where your child sits. My kid's going into second grade. I need second grade curriculum. Let me go buy a second grade curriculum. And all of a sudden you're going, it doesn't work. And problem is sometimes your child is not at second grade level for a certain subject, say reading or writing, or maybe your child is beyond a second grade. So you really want to do a placement evaluation on your child. And there's several ways we can do, and we can cover that next time.
Right, exactly. And that is one thing that I see as the benefit of homeschooling, is that education is now customized for just your child. Your child does not need to adjust to the curriculum and be average and stop fighting in areas that they are.
It goes into homeschooling allows you to create a personalized education.
Okay, Trish. Well, I think that's everything that we can do for right now. Let's reconvene and do this again, because this was definitely a huge help. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we will see you guys shortly.